Understanding real return. And this is why you cannot look at the numbers in isolation. You need to see the real return. Real return is what's left after inflation, after taxes, after fees. That's the money you will actually live on. And the difference between the advertised return and the real return is what separates the dream from reality. Let's make it simple with an example. Imagine you invest in a portfolio that returns 8% per year. Inflation averages 3%, taxes take another 1%, and fees take 0.5%. Your real return is not 8%, it's closer to 3.5%. Over 10 years, that tiny difference means tens of thousands less in your account. This is why so many people follow the plan for years only to realize they are short when they finally check the numbers. But don't lose hope. Because while this seems scary, it's also the reason you're here. If you can see clearly where others are blind, you can play the game smarter. You can design your plan to outpace inflation, minimize taxes, and keep more of your gains. Investment scenarios and outcomes. Bonds and high-yield savings. So, how much do you need to invest every month to actually retire in 10 years? I will reveal the number in a few minutes because you need to understand the mechanics first. But what I will say is this, the number is smaller than you fear, but bigger than you hope. It is not pocket change, but it is not lottery money either. It sits in that uncomfortable middle ground that forces you to make trade-offs, but also gives you a real shot at freedom. Before we reveal it, let's test a few scenarios. Suppose you invest in very safe instruments like high-yield savings or government bonds at 5%. After 10 years of putting in $1,500 a month, you might end up with about $230,000 before inflation. Adjusted for inflation, maybe $175, $175,000. That sounds like progress, but it's not enough to retire unless your expenses are extremely low. The income you could generate from that would cover maybe groceries and rent in a small city, but not a full life. Real estate and REITs. Now, suppose instead you invest in something that tracks inflation, like real estate investment trusts. They typically yield 4 to 6% and rents rise with inflation. After 10 years of $1,500 a month, you could be sitting on a portfolio closer to $280,000 or even $300,000. That gives you around $1,200 to $1,500 a month in income. And that income grows over time. Still not luxurious, but it starts to cover serious expenses. Equities and index funds. And then there are equities, broad stock market index funds. Historically, they return about 10% before inflation. That's about 7% real return. With $1,500 a month, you could end up with over $340,000 after 10 years. That portfolio could safely generate around $1,400 to $1,600 per month. And that's inflation adjusted. Suddenly, you are not far from the $3,000 monthly freedom goal we sketched earlier. So, the question becomes, how badly do you want this? Because the truth is, to retire in 10 years, you will need to push hard. The math isn't forgiving. But it is not impossible. It is simply a trade-off between how much you can invest today and how much freedom you want tomorrow. The exact monthly number revealed. Now, let's dig even deeper. Because the number you need to invest each month isn't just about raw math. It's about psychology, consistency, and how you structure your financial system. Remember, retiring in 10 years is not just an investment problem. It's a behavior problem. The math can be done by anyone with a calculator. But sticking to the plan when life happens, when temptations appear, when markets crash, that is where most people fail. So, let's go back to our target of $3,000 a month in passive income. That's $36,000 a year. If we assume a safe withdrawal rate of 4%, meaning you can take 4% out of your portfolio each year without running out of money, you would need around $900,000 saved to generate that income. Sounds like a mountain, doesn't it? $900,000 in only 10 years. But don't panic just yet, because this is where monthly contributions, compounding, and returns do the heavy lifting. Especially if you open your YouTube channel, it can do most of the work and make you retire even before 10 years. Levers to lower the investment cost. Lifestyle design and lean living. Let's run some numbers. If you can consistently invest about $5,000 to $500 a month into a portfolio that earns 7% after inflation, in 10 years, you will cross that $900,000 mark. That's the clean math. For most people, $5,500 a month sounds insane, completely out of reach. And that is exactly why most people dismiss the idea of retiring in 10 years. They hear the raw number. They feel it's impossible and they never even try. But here's the hidden truth. There are ways to bring this number down. Ways to design a strategy that makes the impossible feel possible. One of the biggest levers you have is lifestyle. If you don't need $3,000 a month, but instead can live comfortably on $2,000 a month, the required portfolio drops from $900,000 to about $600,000. Suddenly, the monthly investment needed shrinks dramatically, closer to $3,700 a month at 7% returns. Still demanding, but far less than $5,500. If you go even leaner, say $1,500 a month in expenses, then you only need $450,000 saved, and the monthly contribution required drops closer to $2,700. Now, we are in the territory where many middle-income families can realistically play the game. Scaling your income. But there's another lever, income growth. If you lock yourself into thinking that your salary today is the only resource you will ever have, then yes, the numbers feel crushing. But what if over the next 10 years you build skills, change jobs, start a side hustle, and double your income? Suddenly, investing $3,000 to $4,000 a month doesn't feel like a prison. It feels like a choice. And those choices compound just as powerfully as the money itself.
Executing the 10-year plan. The $3,000 to $4,000 truth. Now, let's pause here because I promised you the exact figure. If you want to retire in 10 years with a reasonable lifestyle, you need to invest between $3,000 and $4,000 every single month consistently into a diversified portfolio, earning around 7% after inflation. That's the number. That's the truth that most people never hear because they stop asking when it gets uncomfortable. It's not $200 a month. It's not even $1,000 a month. If you want a 10-year timeline, the price is much higher. But the reward is absolute freedom a decade from now, starting with what you have. And here's where the mystery turns into clarity because now you know the number. And knowing the number changes everything. You can design around it. You can cut expenses. You can raise income. You can optimize taxes. You can build a system that funnels money automatically every month. Like a YouTube channel. Most of the channels make that figure every month so you can open it and start as soon as possible. You can see the target clearly instead of living in a fog. But let me also say this. If $3,000 to $4,000 a month feels impossible, don't quit. Don't throw your hands up. Because even if you can only invest $1,000 or $1,500 a month, you are still planting seeds. Maybe you won't retire in 10 years. Maybe it will take 15. But 15 years is still decades ahead of the traditional retirement path. And the skills, habits, and clarity you build along the way will serve you no matter what. The Year 7 shift. Here's another truth that nobody tells you. The first half of the journey feels the hardest. You are the one carrying the load. Your savings rate drives everything. You see small balances. You wonder if it's worth it. But then around Year 7, something shifts. The portfolio starts creating income almost as large as your contributions. By Year 10, the portfolio itself is doing more work than you are. That's when the snowball rolls downhill. That's when your tree is giving fruit faster than you can eat it. And think about what that means in practice. Imagine waking up one morning, checking your account, and seeing that your investments generated $4,000 that month while you were sleeping. That's the dream we are aiming for. That's the dream worth fighting for. And it is not magic. It is math plus discipline. Systems over willpower. The power of automation. But let's go even deeper into the psychology. Won't carry you through 10 years. The secret is to build systems that make investing automatic. If you rely on willpower, you will fail. If you rely on motivation, you will fail. But if you set up automatic transfers from your paycheck into your investments, if you reinvest dividends automatically, if you remove friction from every step, then you don't need willpower. The system does the work. Automation is your best friend because life will distract you. Markets will scare you. Temptation will pull you. But automation doesn't blink. It doesn't get scared. It doesn't decide to buy a new car instead of investing. It just executes. And that is the difference between those who dream and those who actually retire early. The cost of freedom. Now, imagine the feeling of walking away from a job you don't love. Imagine telling your boss you're done, not because you hate work, but because you don't need the paycheck anymore. Imagine building your days around your passions, your family, your creativity, not around a time clock. That is the prize waiting at the end of these 10 years. But also understand this, freedom has a cost. The cost is discipline today. The cost is delayed gratification. The cost is saying no to some things now so you can say yes to anything later. Every dollar you spend on something you don't really need is not just a dollar gone. It is a brick removed from the foundation of your freedom. And when you start to see money that way, every choice becomes clearer. Is this expense moving me closer to retirement in 10 years or further away? That is the only question that matters. Conclusion and final strategy. So, let's put it all together. To retire, you will likely need to invest $3,000 to $4,000 every month consistently into assets that yield around 7% after inflation. If you can lower your expenses, the number drops. If you can raise your income, the number becomes more achievable. If you can do both, the odds tilt heavily in your favor. That's the blueprint. That's the math. And now the final thought. The timeline is negotiable, but the process is not. However long it takes, the only way out is through consistency. The only way out is by planting the seeds, watering the tree, and waiting for the fruit. Most people never start. Most who start never continue. And only the few who continue long enough ever get to taste the freedom. Which one will you be? I'm sure you want to be the one who takes the shortcut. Thanks to YouTube. Think about it. Many of the channels of people I've helped make that amount and even more every month. So instead of making sacrifices, you can pretend that income isn't there and automatically send it into an account where you invest, and you can retire without changing a thing about your day. Isn't that great? If you want me to help you, join my free Telegram community with the link below. I can't wait to help you. Remember, one day you will look back and the question won't be how much you invested every month.
Why should I trust it? That's a fair question, but here's what really matters. Every idea shared in this video is carefully researched, thoughtfully organized, and created with one goal: to help you make smarter financial decisions. We're not asking you to believe us blindly. We're asking you to think critically, compare the information, and apply what truly makes sense for your own financial journey. If even one strategy from this channel helps you save more, invest more wisely, or avoid an expensive mistake, then this video has done its job. Your future won't change because of one video. It changes because of the small, consistent decisions you make after watching it. So stay with us, keep learning, and let's build your financial future one smart decision at a time. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.